Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Tiffany Ingram, and I am the CEO of LuxLink Business Solutions. And what I've started is a new series. For a while, I've been posting the any AI updates or HR updates that I receive um, by a certain time every morning. So I wanted to try something and start going live. Um, there are a few technical difficulties this morning. So, anyway, we are here. For those that are new to my page, Tiffany Ingram, Luxlink, CEO of Luxlink Business Solutions, where we help organizations integrate AI into their company ethically and strategically. Specifically, our services are geared towards HR leaders, people leaders that are truly navigating this AI disruption, or better yet, known as AI redesign. So, and we do all of this too with the mindset of people first and not negatively impacting your productivity or culture. So I want to jump right into some of the updates that I'm seeing, or some of the signals that um, I'm seeing in the news this morning. And here we talk about AI and human resources. So some of the things that we're seeing, some of the critical developments for today, OpenAI nears a massive $30 billion funding boost. So this is reinforcing scale and competitive position. So SoftBank Group is reportedly on the brink of committing an additional 30 billion to OpenAI. Now, that's huge. This signal is truly reinforcing the aggressive scaling plans um, that we're hearing about, and also fueling its pursuit of up to 100 billion in new capital to support infrastructure, R&D, and go to market expansion. Meanwhile, Microsoft, I think I hit on this yesterday, I talked a little bit about it. They released their Maya 200 AI chip. And so what this does for them, it truly sharpens their infrastructure advantage. So Microsoft launched the Maya 200 AI accelerator, claiming performance that surpasses their rivals in Silicon Valley, from Google to AWS, which is Amazon's version of this, and delivering a 30% better performance per dollar for inference loads. Now, it's now active, and so on Azure data centers, and optimized from everything from Copilot workloads to real-time enterprise models. This release or just creation has sharpened Microsoft's infrastructure, and that's what they're saying. It's sharpened their infrastructure stack for high volume, cost efficient AI delivery. And I mentioned yesterday that this is making, tech is becoming accessible uh quicker and more budget or cost effectively. So this is something that we need to watch out for as we look at the news and look at how AI is showing up differently. Global AI competition heats up. So UAE unveils a sovereign OpenAI model. This model, the UAE's MBZUAE, introduced K2 Think. This is a fully transparent, open source AI model designed to rival the offerings from NVIDIA, OpenAI, and even Alibaba. So, this signaling is really telling us that there's some geopolitical competition for enterprise grade AI capabilities. Now, when we look at the signals for enterprise, so enterprise AI vendors, AI leadership remains intensely competitive. Every day, I'm seeing something different. If you look back through some of my posts before they became live, you will see that every other day it's Google, it's Microsoft, it's OpenAI. There's something happening. So this market, I predict is going to become even more competitive. But at some point, we will have a victorious, obvious winner. So again, we continue to watch Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI um, as the marquee vendors during enterprise AI strategy, with the trio influencing infrastructure choice, model sourcing, and procurement direction. So Microsoft and Google, actually, too, I want to mention something. Apple, I mentioned it yesterday, actually. My Google and Apple, is it Google and Apple? Now I have to double check because I know Apple just partnered with, and I think it is Google, um, to use their actually it is Google, to use Google's AI intelligence for Apple. So that's, again, talked about that yesterday, but that's one key partnership to really look out for and see how they leverage each other. Let's see. I did talk about that. So Microsoft and Google command broad enterprise AI adoption with their deep cloud integration and tooling, while OpenAI's large language model leadership remains central to next gen applications. So, what are the business implications? And I like to put this into, this has always been added into uh, when this was a actual post on LuxLink Business Solutions. And so the number one business implication is that capital flow signals stakes and scale decisions. So with the SoftBank OpenAI funding surge is not vanity, right? It is truly a strategic refinery of competitive position. So if we remember back to the beginning of the year, OpenAI really talked about this. So expect OpenAI to accelerate infrastructure, enterprise production, and partnerships. Leaders should reassess their vendor capacity to support scale under pressure. And I tell this a lot to my clients: when you're looking at solutions, you really need to ensure that you're looking at a solution that can scale with you, or else you're going to be purchasing a solution um, more regularly than you want. Infrastructure economics are strategic competitive terrain. So Microsoft's Maio 200 chip accelerates acceleration dramatically shifts the cost performance calculus for hosting enterprise AI workloads. So organizations have to reevaluate what their infrastructure sourcing is, what are some of these price assumptions, and their cloud models to seize and really be able to leverage AI from an infrastructure perspective. Because we talk a lot about, okay, what can AI do within your organization? Now we're really looking at, how does it fit into our infrastructure, and how do we maximize that advantage, whether it be from a budget standpoint, but also performance. So global dynamics affect enterprise risk and sovereignty. So emerging competitors, from sovereign open models like K2 Think, what I mentioned earlier, to multi-cloud AI alliances, amplify the regulatory and geopolitical and data sovereignty consideration. So when we look at the risk functions, we must integrate these vectors into our AI strategy, which goes into your governance strategy. Multi-vendor strategy enhances resilience. So with Microsoft, Google, and OpenAI setting the enterprise pace, um, there's a need for some hybrid sourcing strategies. So, you're looking to reduce your tech lock-in, control your costs, and increase your agility to, again, pivot when you need to. So protect innovation budgets and strategic independence through diversified AI estates. Overall, when looking at this, today's updates or signals are about scale, infrastructure, dominance, and competitive resistance. We're looking at OpenAI closing in on funding, o- over 3 billion, I must say, in funding. And at the same time, Microsoft is reshaping the AI economics with the release of their new chip. We have, from a global perspective, UAE's Sovereign AI Initiative. And so here's the strategic call that, I want to bring to um, executive leadership's um, I want to bring to executive leadership's attention. Haven't had my coffee this morning, not quite sure. This should be a signal for you to reassess your vendor capacity to scale with capital backing, right? Um, to ensure that you're able to evolve. And so, listen, OpenAI is not doing anything that you shouldn't be doing. So, what is your current vendor's capacity? How does that equate to your overall strategy? And what do you need in order to be able to evolve your infrastructure? Reoptimize AI infrastructure sourcing for performance, cost, and risk. So, if your current infrastructure is not considering these things or considering them in a new perspective, you may need to re-optimize those things. Embed multi-cloud and model diversity into deployment blueprints, right? I used to think that it was great to have one source system that did everything, which it still is, but you have to ensure that you have some diversity as it pertains to some of these solutions. Diversity and that logically makes sense. Align governance and sovereignty risk frameworks with evolving AI ecosystems. So again, the word governance. Governance is not going away. I know it is a lot of people like, oh my gosh, compliance, spending all these times building these parameters for what it's now becoming a must have. It's not an option anymore. If you have AI within your organization, there needs to be some governance plan in place. And now as we're looking at other areas, releasing and bringing in or making their AI um, programs or software available, we need to really make sure that we understand the risks that are associated with that. All right. So now we're going to move into the HR portion of this. And so from the HR landscape, here are some of the things happening. There are workforce transformation headlines around, again, organizations planning to cut a percentage of their workforce. So Pinterest just announced that they plan to cut about 15% of their workforce as they pivot toward more AI centered capabilities. We also have heard Amazon has revealed that they're going to do another round of corporate cuts, which would be about 16,000 roles, and really, really stating that they're becoming more efficient through AI powered operations. So some of the top employer benchmark shows HR is being run with repeatable metrics, skill based systems, and leadership management. This is not, it shouldn't be ran as an ad hoc function. So data driven decisions are now the competitive differentiator. Um, and across the HR ecosystem, you know, there are trends pointing to agentic AI adoptions, skill-based training, and integrated people analysis analytics are really defining the operational agenda for 2026. Now, what this truly means for leaders, um, the world of work, we said that, and even I've said it, it's being disrupted. Now it's went from disruption to it's being redesigned. And so CEOs and CHROs must treat your HR strategy as a competitive engine, not a cost bucket. I know I've worked for organizations like HR is a cost, this is a cost, this is a cost, cut, 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 cut. But this could really be done right. This can be your competitive engine. Uh, Workforce reductions tied to automation are a symptom. The strategic of initiative is how you redeploy your talent, right? Build capacity and embed a human centered AI governance approach when you're doing this. I recently, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, there was a panel and I heard a CEO, and I want to give all the credit to Chase's CEO, which I think it was. I have to verify that, where he talked about, you know, reskilling your people and deploying them to other areas of your operation that again can help further the competitive advantage that you will have in your market. Right now, we're seeing a mass exodus, right? We're just cutting people for the sake of cutting people, which I will tell you, it makes me question whether or not those folks should have been there in the very beginning. But again, that's just my own personal professional opinion, because a lot of times we find ourselves, or organizations find themselves, putting people to handle problems that should have been handled even before you allowed a person to come into your organization. Um, instead of really dealing with the issue, we put a person there to deal with it. So now with AI, those folks aren't needed. So it makes me question, um, were we were we as efficient as we probably could have been? Um, Data and measurements aren't optional. So they're the operating system for talent decisions and should drive your business outcomes. So leaders who ignore these, they really, 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 um, they're going to feel the effects of that as it pertains to how they match up with their competitors, and really understanding that those who truly operationalize their talent as a core strategic lever will be the ones. Well, I was going to say will be the successful ones, but they'll actually be the victorious ones, and the leaders in their market. So, some of the takeaways from this, that leaders really, really, really need to consider: optimize your talent strategy. Again, if you don't have a talent strategy, or if it's not as strong as you want it to be, this is a time to really optimize it. And just really talking about talent optimization is now strategic execution. It's not administrative support. So HR has to be in the room, and also not only be in the room, they have to be the engine of the room when it comes to transformation. So we're powering all of that. Skill-based frameworks and people metrics are differentiators in the winning markets, not these check boxes, right? Um, and I think HR gets a bad rep for that. Like, hey, we're just checking the box. And it's like, no, if we all viewed it from a strategic standpoint, there would be no checking the boxes. So really understanding how to maximize and how to leverage some of these skill-based frameworks, and really getting good with our people metrics is going to be one of the defining factors. I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'll probably say it tomorrow. AI isn't the future state, it's shaping workforce design today. So there's some tangible impacts that we can have on employment and operational models if we acknowledge that and start to operate in that. So what are some of the things, some of the steps? Because I always like providing execution steps, right? You need to anchor HR to business strategy, integrate HR metrics into enterprise scorecards if they're not there, measure talent acquisition, velocity, leadership readiness, skills mobility, and retention of top contributors, right? Lead with responsible AI deployment tactics, making sure you have ethical guardrails, making sure you have transparency, equity, and alignment with your business values to preserve trust while boosting your organization's performance. Redesign work through skill shift from roles to capabilities, build that internal mobility platform that maps skills to future needs and unlocks that hidden talent pool before hiring externally. And then build leadership at scale. You need to upskill your people for hybrid intelligence, human judgment that's amplified with by AI, by data, So again, this can be leveraged in your organization. Prioritizing leadership development as a strategic investment and not as a training expense, right? I want to read that like several more times, but that's huge. And so, really, truly, just not on paper, elevate HR as a strategic partner, um, and really, truly empower your HR leaders to co own the enterprise transformation. This includes the workforce strategy, the culture, architecture, and the future of work planning should be the CEO, CHRO co-sponsored mandates. I know you're going to have the CFO there because, again, from a financial standpoint, they need to understand the cost and what's associated with all of this. But literally, this needs to be a co-sponsored mandate. Um, and so, with that, the bottom line here is we are past experimentation. The future of work is truly operational and changing, right? Even our language around it is changing. We went from saying AI is disrupting to now, hey, AI is here and it's redefining or redesigning how we get work done. So leaders must run human resources like a business driver and not a support function, right? When we advance from personnel to human resource management to now being a strategic partner, now there's a new expectation, right? We are a business driver, especially with so much of these things touching the function of HR. So clarity, measurement, strategic execution will be what separates the winners from the rest of 2026, um, from a human capital capacity. So my encouragement to you is to truly, lead boldly with people first in mind, execute relentlessly, and just win the sustainability and provide your organization and your people with the appropriate infrastructure that you need in order to win in this market. That is it for today. I will be back tomorrow at 6:30, hoping that there are no technical issues. But my hope is that this information you find it helpful, and you're able to apply it, especially where some of the action steps that are outlined, that you're able to take them and to actually integrate them. I will be there. There's one more thing. I will be hosting a HR AI executive briefing. It is very limited to, I think, the 20 to 25 seats. I have to um, verify that a little bit later today. Invite only. And so during this, we're going to be really talking about how HR is being expected to um, navigate and really do all of this without a defensible framework. And so we're going to go through it's an hour and 30 minutes. Um, it'll be next Thursday, but again, it's going to be very, very closed, limited seating. I will post something to provide more additional details because we're flushing this out. But literally, if all of this stuff, and the reason why I do the AI and HR together, it's really to show how what's happening overall in the market as it pertains to artificial intelligence, how that is impacting the human resource function. So again, I will be back tomorrow with your AI HR news or AI HR signals. Until then, enjoy your Thursday. No, today's not Thursday. Enjoy your Wednesday. I've not had my coffee yet. And I will speak to you later.